I'm not gonna like you. I can tell right away, out of everyone here, I like you the least.
Buckle the fuckle up for Red 1. A dark being has kidnapped Santa Claus, and they plan to usurp the holiday. Oh no! However, this ain't your granny Santa Claus. He's a badass. And these aren't your average elves either. They're an elite special forces unit in disguise. In fact, there's a whole supernatural world being hidden right beneath our noses. But it's still up to Dwayne the Elf Johnson to get Santa back. Tagging along is notorious level 4 naughty lister Chris Evans to complete the mission. So strap in for a Santa movie unlike anything you've ever seen. Will Christmas be saved? You bet your ass it will be. Can cinema as an art form be saved? Well, the jury's still out on that one. So, here we are.
Oh, here we are.
Talking about the cinematic event of the season.
You know, when that bomb cyclone blew through town yesterday evening, I was kind of hoping that it would knock out power for me so I had an excuse not to be here tonight, but apparently Santa hates me, so here we are.
You know, over the past month, there's been a lot of really interesting stuff that's come out. This the past couple of days, I've been catching up on titles. I saw Conclave yesterday. I saw Nora. Day before that, I saw Heretic. Even Robert Zemeckis' Here.
I would talk for 1,000 years about de-aged Tom Hanks in a room screaming about boomer stuff.
I'm sure you would, but instead, we are talking about this glorious masterpiece of a movie. I do have to say this. I've seen some people calling this the worst movie of the year, and I am personally offended by that.
Yeah. Is there a more honorable mention, dishonorable mention?
I did not sit through The Crow. I did not sit through Borderlands. I did not sit through Harold and the fucking Crayon to be told that Red 1 is the worst movie of the year.
Put some respect on their names. What I will say, this is not the worst movie of the year. I blessedly have avoided all of those titles you mentioned so far. What I will say is it does kind of fall into that valley of being just okay, well, there we go. But also, this really felt, and I'm very curious as to why, this felt like every platform, every big streamer, Netflix, Paramount Plus, HBO Max maybe, they have their one holiday, quote-unquote blockbuster release, I feel, anymore in the last couple of years. This felt like this should, by all rights, have been Netflix's Christmas tentpole, and yet for some reason it got a theatrical release.
Yeah, apparently when this started getting made, because this is an Amazon movie, this is a streaming service movie, and it was supposed to be for the streaming service, but then they said, no, you know what? This belongs in the cinemas.
I wonder if they're going to learn eventually that Dwayne Johnson doesn't print money at the box office anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of because, the ongoing, with these kinds of streaming movies that get into theaters, they don't do super well. But people always say, oh, well, it doesn't matter because it's a streaming service, right? But, you have Killers of the Flower Moon, which you can say, okay, they're going more for the Oscars and the prestige for that. But with this, yeah, Dwayne Johnson, his own personal brand, is falling apart very measurably. People don't go to see him anymore, like you said.
Though I will say, having experienced this film, Anyone that does say that Dwayne Johnson doesn't have range should probably check this out, because I think I went through the entire film and he did not wear a single tank top. So that's really putting himself out there.
He's trying something
Sleeves
different.
the whole time.
God, I wish, have you ever seen that meme where it's like The Rock in 4 different movies and he's wearing the same outfit?
Yeah, just white tank top.
Yeah. And it's not even like, oh, the Fast and Furious movies. He said, no, it's like 4 completely separate titles.
San Andreas.
Yeah.
There's that the Rampage. It's all the same. I literally made a point. One of the things that got me through this was the entire time I'm like, okay, if he puts on a single tank top or sleeveless shirt, I kind of I would allow for he had the vest thing, but he always had that kind of base layer Under Armour thing that extended all the way to maybe just above his elbow. So that counts as a sleeve. And that's where we're at in my cinematic discourse.
You're paying attention to the things that mattered. Yeah.
Within this movie, frankly, yeah.
And it's I like when it was we saw the trailer and we were kind of cautiously hopeful because earlier this year we really liked the new Godzilla vs. Kong movie because that was just kind of straight up dumb fun kind of a thing. And we were thinking, well, maybe this will be batshit crazy enough to be good. And then I saw it first and I messaged you saying, I'm sorry to report all the interesting stuff was in the trailer.
Yeah, I was a little crestfallen. I feel like the Adam Wingard MonsterVerse Kong movies are kind of in a weird class of their own. I was not expecting that, but I wasn't expecting it to be good, but I was not expecting to be bored. I was just expecting to be confused, and I kind of was, but not really, and that left me very sad.
Yeah, it's a very... I know this is kind of becoming very quickly an overplayed accusation to say that a movie feels like AI. But I want to make that comparison here in a very specific way to say that in the same way that these learning language models, they just kind of regurgitate what the mean average is of what they measure you want to see. So it's you put in whatever input you do and they say, okay, of all the possible outcomes, this is the one that's most like what you probably want. It's basically the average. And this feels like a production that was aiming for just okay, here's the mean average of whatever it is we're going to do.
Right. The notions of action Christmas universe plus we have to learn a lesson. Go. Right.
And the kind of along the way, there's so many parts where I feel there's parts where the movie could have elevated itself a little bit, but there's so many kind of missed opportunities that just doesn't feel like it's interested in even trying to get those.
Sure.
So kind of I got some more specific examples here I can kind of go through. Spoilers for this movie. We'll do spoilers. 3, 2, 1. And so the opening of this movie, actually I forgot. There's a different opening, which is kind of, but near the opening of this movie, Chris Evans is trying to sneak into a facility, right? And the scene of the movie, I was actually kind of oh, okay, maybe this won't be so bad because he sees okay, I gotta get in there. And he's how do I get in there? So he looks around this old town square and he's oh, if I do this, cause a distraction, kind of cause a chain reaction that'll allow me to get in. And it's okay. He's he's clever, he's resourceful, and he kind of see things other people can't. And it was this sequence. I was okay, that's kind of neat. And then he never does it again for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I think they kind of got that and they're all right, got our character development out of the way. He's, he's tricky. He thinks on his feet, and he's also a little stinker because he steals the lollipop sucker from the baby. And so we know he's a bona fide naughty lister, and he's going to clash with the very straight-laced elf, Callum Drift, the greatest stupid name.
That is not
Callum Drift.
Did he choose
They just
that?
forgot that on a Fast and the Furious name. I don't know. He probably did, let's be honest.
So it's like something I would have come up with at 13. It's like, I'm Callum Drift. And I'm Prestige 50 in Call of Duty. Speaking of like
it just doesn't deliver on that beyond.
And like speaking of that part where like he like takes the candy from the baby, that felt like timed weird. I was like, that should have been funnier than it was. It's
and it's off screen, which is odd too.
Yeah, it's like cause it's like it like because we see him go past and we see the baby with a lollipop, and immediately I'm like, okay, he's gonna take the candy from the baby, and then he goes and does something else, and then he comes back and he looks at the baby, and then the camera cuts the baby back to Chris Evans, back to the baby, and then Chris Evans is then walking away, and you hear the crying, and it felt so like set up wrong.
There was a beat too long or something.
Yeah, and
was this supposed to be a comedy?
I
get that it's supposed to be light, but is it actually trying to be funny?
I
was genuinely
so.
perplexed throughout the film.
Yeah, it feels like it feels wrong. It feels like it is assembled wrong. Like there's a part later in the movie where I find the broker between Chris Evans and the evil Christmas witch who wants to...
Oh my god, that...
We'll get to that.
Please continue.
And they get attacked by the evil snowmen, and like we have to protect this guy from the snowmen, and they fail. The guy gets frozen. But the way that like it happens, and it just feels like there's no impact to it. It's just like, oh, I guess that happened. Oh no. It's just like there's no impact there.
No, and that performance is this film's equivalent of like how I felt that Aubrey Plaza was the most self-aware in Megalopolis. Like Nick Kroll was the what's her name? Glupshido? Whatever Aubrey Plaza's character was.
Glinda. Her name is Glinda.
Glinda. Wow, Platinum. There we go.
Oh.
Are we ready to jump to there, or do we need to set the table for...
No.
I have no...
Anybody who's seen this trailer knows what this movie is.
Oh my god.
There's the evil witch who wants to kidnap Santa and take over Christmas to punish people. There. You know how the movie goes now.
Have you seen the movie R.A.P.D. before?
I have not.
Okay, well, you're lucky for one thing. But honestly, like, before it completely abandons that and we're just off to, like, recover Santa, it felt like they were trying to do that, and it felt like they were as successful as R.A.P.D. at doing that, which I mean to say not at all. Because that movie's basically, like, if I remember, it's like Ryan Reynolds, which is all you need to know, is like a cop who gets killed in like a shootout or something, and then he gets recruited to like the Rest in Peace department, which are supposed to be like wrangling dead people who are ghosts or some whatever. And it's him and I think Jeff Bridges. And it is this exact thing, but like with like spooky veneer instead of Christmas. And it's just this like, it's pretending to you that there's this like world building. Like here we have, you know, Action Santa and like red, it's all kind of like president coded with Red One, and there's all this production facility that's under a shield, but it's like it's completely veneer and just this empty facade, and that's just the same thing here. And now we're trapped in this world of toy store broom closet portals.
He didn't close that door. He went through the door and he didn't close it. There's a portal going from like New York to the Caribbean, and he just left it open. That bothered me so much.
Now we can all go to Aruba for free.
Oh,
Which is also probably how they got it made, because they wanted to go to Aruba to see terrifyingly caked up snowmen attack Nick Kroll.
that is just, it's so, there's just so many little beats here where it's like, okay, I'll tell you another part that bothered me way more than is rational for any person to be bothered by.
Okay.
So
Shoot.
Chris Evans is basically a deadbeat dad. And there's a part where his ex goes, "You need to pick your son up from school. I'm delivering babies." So he goes, he picks up his son. They talk about something I don't give a shit about. And then he drops off his son, and the ex is just standing there. And I remember seeing a thing, I was like, what? She's not supposed to be here. And it's like, oh, then they give a line where she's like, oh, the babies came out quicker than I thought, so I got home. No! I don't even work in medical, and I know that you don't just say, like, oh, the baby came out a little faster than anticipated, so I got home, and I'm waiting there for you.
That's when you just hand it off to the NICU nurse and are like, fuck this, I'm out. Just clocking out.
And like, look, I see the writing decision here. We need an excuse for Chris Evans to talk to his son so that we know he's not a good dad. But we also need an excuse for Chris Evans to talk to his ex to be told how irresponsible he is. So this is the solution that we come up with.
You just make her like have a meeting that got canceled or something. Like that's mildly less ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like, have it be like, oh, my foot is broken and you have to go pick him up because he's in trouble at school, so he can't take the bus. Do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's, I swear to, and again, like obviously, like, if this movie was overall better, I wouldn't be nitpicking it like this, but these are just the little things where it's like, just all these little things that pile up, and it makes it feel weaker. It makes it feel like you're not watching a story unfold. You're watching $250 million. I'm sure 2/3 of
lit
which
on fire.
Yeah. Well, after Dwayne Johnson gets 2/3 of it, of course.
Yeah.
It's so weird because, like, immediately after Endgame, Chris Evans does Knives Out, which is a great movie, and then Robert Downey Jr. does Doolittle. And now here we are, 4 years later. Robert Downey Jr. is in Oppenheimer, and Chris Evans is doing this and Gray Man and God knows what else.
Chris Evans has clearly not opted for the, Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart, Daniel Radcliffe type, like, okay, I have fuck you money, so I'm going to just do whatever the hell I want, which could mean interesting indie projects or weird shit. I was skimming his IMDb right before this because it's like, what has he done? He did like this and like Ghosted, that weird, I think it's like Apple thing. And then like, I think the only project that I've given a shit about aside from Knives Out, which he's good in, is like the that animated miniseries that they did about Scott Pilgrim, and he's just reprising his role from the film like a decade ago, so that doesn't really count. It's like, all right, I mean, you're welcome to coast, but like, Jesus.
Oh, I forgot he was Buzz Lightyear.
That too, that treasure of American cinema.
God. Maybe movies were a mistake.
Maybe maybe these movies were a mistake.
Thank God. And I was like, and I have some more points here of like little shit where it's like it just the emotional beats fell off. But I feel like I've kind of made my point. Where just like these little beats where you're almost there, you almost hit the note you want, but it's just out of tune. And when each little note is out of tune, then the whole song just feels garbled.
Yeah.
It's just like, and it feels
What
like
was the function of Lucy Liu?
she's the okay. So she's like a regular mortal human who is in charge of the SCP Foundation, and she's like, oh, I get like the information or whatever, or I'm the government agent who.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think they're trying to go for some kind of like Viola Davis Suicide Squad thing with this, you know, kind of she's like the boss that doesn't take shit, blah, blah, blah. But like, she just had nothing to do. Every time she showed up, I was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah,
You're on a screen somewhere.
I legitimately forgot she was in the movie until you brought her up. It's like, this movie is what? It's 2 hours, and I barely remember an hour's worth of plot.
It's just, I wouldn't even call them action sequences. They're just sequences where things happen ostensibly.
Can I go on like a little bit of a rant tangent here?
Well, you're welcome to.
We need to discuss the a problem that's not just in this movie, but in many Christmas movies. We need to talk about the epistemology of Santa Claus. Because in these movies, it's like there's Elf, there's like just all these movies about like adults have to believe in Santa because they no longer believe in him, despite him being real.
Yes.
But why? Why do they not believe in Santa? Do they just think that Christmas trees magically manifest presents underneath of them? If he's real.
Yeah, it's this weird paradox that like doesn't need to happen. I feel like we've only like you're saying Elf, Christmas Chronicles. I feel like it's really come to the forefront recently. I think
These are the answers. Cause like
my brain is shorting out.
Because look, obviously like in real life there's like bizarre weird conspiracy theories like flat earthers or whatnot, but it's like or like, you know, like for example, like there's people who think that, oh, there's an evil government weather machine that controls the weather, but they don't deny that storms exist.
Yeah.
It's like, what and this movie, I was so bored. This is all I was thinking about. I was like, why do people not believe that Santa exists when he's like the most forward-facing cryptid? I don't know, what do you want to call him?
Cryptid.
He's a cryptid. He's an elf.
He is.
He's not a human.
It's like the weirdest sort of, you know, Dorothy and Oz. You know how in these stories you always have your kind of like audience surrogate that gets brought along and they have to learn all this stuff. And it's just like the weirdest backwards way. It's like ostensibly you already know about Santa as a thing. And then you're also in this world where Santa is actually a thing. And yet it's so mind-boggling to these numbskulls. What I am also fascinated by is the recent need for like what I would just call jacked Santa. Like here, J.K. Simmons, there's so much time spent on like him benching hundreds of kilos or whatever in his like hit routine or whatever. And I remember watching Christmas Chronicles with Kirk Douglas, where he's not like, you know, doing that, but there's a lot of like, you know, oh, he's cool Santa. He's not, you know, jolly old Saint Nicholas with his tubby, whatever physique. Like, and like they kind of spend it, like, it's partially because they feel this unnecessary need to like explain how the Christmas presents happen. With this one, it's like, well, he's just super swole, so of course he can. And then with like the Kirk Douglas, it's like this horrifying eldritch nightmarescape inside of his magic sack or whatever, which I honestly prefer because it's terrifying. But it's so funny, and it's like, okay, like, is this facet because we need to explain it, or is it because, we want to have J.K. Simmons, and J.K. Simmons wants to have his ego stroked, so why not be Jack Santa?
Like, there is only one badass Santa in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen... And here's the thing, like, they are late to this game. 2012, Rise of the Guardians... Russian Santa who like dual wields like swords.
That sounds great.
It is great.
There's like some Danish horror movie about Sinterklaas that's great.
Yeah,
that would be fine.
Speaking of, we have to talk about, there's like one good part of this movie. There's one part of this movie that I actually like, and that's Castle Krampus.
The Krampus shit slapped so hard.
Just like he slapped The Rock. I love that part.
There should be more of that, please.
It's like they go in because they think that he might have something to do with it. And there's like actual prosthetics on him.
No, he looked great.
Yeah, there's like, you kind of see like there's like a few accents of the CGI. It looked so good. And he's also like the most interesting character of the movie because they're like, oh, like back in the day, he and Santa, they worked together, but Krampus wanted to like punish the naughty children. He made the naughty list. Santa wasn't comfortable with that, and they had a big falling out over it. And I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. I want to watch that movie, please.
No, he was just a fun screen presence, and I liked he was, Castle Krampus is this like, I don't know, Star Wars cantina of like ghoulies and goblins and harpies and cyclopses and shit. And like they looked fun. Like it was like someone actually was like, oh, I want to have this like harpy, and he's got like a weird beak nose, and he's kind of a little, shit, and there's a weird cyclops and stuff. And like it was like, oh, this looks like someone thought about this for 25 minutes and like, hired actors to do this instead of just, I don't know, having reindeer in a rocket sled.
Yeah, it was just like, it was the one part where it was like, oh my god, I'm actually like, you know what it reminded me of? Kind of like, it felt like a little snippet of like the Hellboy movies, the two good ones.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, kind of like in that ballpark.
Yeah, we're just like monsters walking around doing stuff, and I was like, oh my god, that was like that scene. Like that scene alone is why like I'm not just calling this like utter like garbage. It's like, no, there's like a little bit there. There's the Krampus, the glorious beacon of light in a void of darkness.
I like when Christopher Hevue came on screen. I sat up and I was like, you have my attention.
Yeah.
This terrible movie.
It's so good. But now to get to like the villain, Christmas witch, Glinda, and her plot is so lame.
What's her Gravlax? I don't.
Grilla.
Oh, Grilla. Okay.
And just her plot is so lame. It's like, oh, we're gonna send out snow globes to trap people. Snow globes that, if you just say sorry, they crack open and you can escape.
The easiest cheat code.
It's like imagine if Chris Evans had to use what we saw him use earlier in the movie, where it's like, okay, got to see all the stuff that's around me and make this work. But no, we don't get that.
No.
And it's like, and to kind of contrast this, like, like Nightmare Before Christmas. All right, I know this is your favorite movie. But like Nightmare Before Christmas, when Jack Skellington takes over, you actually see the chaos that he unleashes. Like it's like he's like these kids are getting like nommed by snakes, or like being terrorized by bats. You know, like the military is mobilized.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like that's fun because you kind of want to see the shit go down, right?
Right.
But no, we don't even get to see that. We don't even get to see
No.
it. Like it's
You get to see that one little shitbag get globed, and then that's it.
like because like when Chris Evans gets like trapped, it's like they're driving and then there's a piano that's like playing spooky music, right? And then there's
Like the Sugar Plum Fairy in a creepy fashion.
you know, it's any song can be creepy if you slow it down. It has to be the slowed down epic version that you find. The Hans Zimmer version of Pinocchio's I Got No Strings on Me. But like that's kind of what I want to see. Was just like want to see like people like spooky stuff kind of popping up and people like, oh my god, and then they get snow globed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And they gotta have like a mass breakout or something at the North Pole, and
yeah, you know, it's like just have a little fun with it. Come on.
just be clever. Have it be a heist or something.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like one of your people is good at like heisting stuff. Come on. You know, and it's like, and you know, people, I've seen some people like, well, it's got a nice message to it. It's got a nice message. But we've heard this a dozen times.
No, it's like you don't get but like points for having to like discover the Christmas spirit arc in a Christmas movie,
Yeah, you know.
especially when you don't have anything else to offer.
You know, it's like, oh, people can be redeemed and still be good. And it's like, yes, I also saw Elf 2 decades ago.
Can I say my controversial opinion?
Say it.
I don't think Elf is that great.
I thought Elf was great the first time I saw it. And each time, it's kind of had diminishing returns. I'm like, oh, this is less funny than I remembered it the last time I saw it, which was less funny than the previous time. It's... well, also, you're biased because your work has like a terrifying Buddy the Elf.
Oh god. No, dude, Thanksgiving's next week. Buddy's gonna fucking come, and I'm gonna have to start my like NORAD style tracking of Buddy. This life-size cardboard cutout of Will Ferrell that one of my coworkers decided was a great idea to just haunt the hallways of the lab. And I swear to God, this is the year that I burn it. I don't know. I can't do it. I'm not prepared.
5 weeks at Buddy's. Prepare yourself.
No, it's it's horrifying.
You know, I think really the most damning thing I could say about this movie is I have to contrast this with a true cinematic masterpiece.
Hit me.
Have you ever seen Elf Bowling the movie?
What? I did not know this existed.
Oh, this is glorious. So, to give you an idea of what this movie is like, so you know Elf Bowling, the video game that's frankly was just before my time.
I assume it's like a JavaScript game where you bowl either with or for elves.
Yeah, it's like basically it's like you roll things and then the elves are bowling pins.
Okay.
This is like AOL days.
Okay.
Well, they made a movie about it.
Okay.
And this movie is completely unhinged. So, Santa's backstory was that he was a pirate who would steal toys And then he would like put them out the back of the boat so that the kids would find them again. And then there's a mutiny. And he and his brother are thrown overboard, and then they find a bunch of elves who just... This movie is very bizarre. There's a strike in the movie, and there's actually like labor contract rules are an important plot point of this film. And then his brother sings a song that literally is titled "Slavery Makes the World Go Round."
Oh my god.
In case you can't tell, this movie is not very good at all.
I mean, you had me fooled up until now.
But the thing is that I remember that though. For better or for worse,
Will you remember this in 3 weeks?
Elf Bowling the movie is branded into my brain, and Red One is just, it's so whatever, it exists. Like, it's here, it's something to watch for 2 hours, but you could do that with virtually any other Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like Santa Buddies. Santa Buddies is probably going to get you the same amount of stuff. It's bizarre. And this movie just... it doesn't go that extra mile of just being batshit insane.
Yeah, I'll take bizarre over bland. I should at least be perplexed, like I said before. This just feels like they want... this should have been something that you put on, like, Thanksgiving afternoon. Dad wanders in every 20 minutes and is like, "That's Dwayne Johnson!" And then wanders back out. And then, you know, the kids are silent or whatever. But it's not for kids. This is... I don't know who this is for. Never mind. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like there's too much swearing in this movie that I could see, like, parents being comfortable with it. Like, I if I had a kid, I would be like, oh, whatever. But, you know, don't say that word, little Timmy. But, yeah, I think a lot of parents are like, oh, he said a bad word. Can't let their kids watch this.
It's too coarse.
But then it's not, like, adult enough for, like, teenagers or grown-ups, I would think.
Yeah.
And I think you hit the nail right on the head, because, again, this is an Amazon movie. This is destined to be on at Thanksgiving so that people can look and be like, oh, it's Chris Evans. Oh, it's Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, it's just... It's... I don't even know what else to say about it. I'm out of bullet points.
Well, it all concludes in a Super Smash Bros. Type encounter on a boring pier in a black void.
Yeah.
And Grilla punches things, and then people punch Grilla, and then it's over.
Yeah, and then...
And no one has gone through any meaningful change, because I'm not going to count the Chris Evans character except for Krampus, because he's the best.
Yes, Krampus. When he came in at the finale, I was like, yes! Thank you! They're going to make this movie better for us. He did it. He saved us from what would have been otherwise a truly horrendous picture.
You know, I'm looking at the poster, or like whatever the main theatrical release poster is, and it's so funny because the dominant presence in the, at least what your eye is immediately drawn to, is the like polar bear.
The polar bear who's like in what,
who's in a scene in like 3 minutes of runtime, and like it's like, okay, I mean, like I see it and I'm like, who's this like Yorick Burdison ass motherfucker? And then I'm like, oh, I will never find out who this gentleman is because he just never shows up.
I don't think that... I don't think we even have to say, oh, don't watch this movie, because people aren't watching this movie.
Like, yeah, I know. And besides this thing is going to get nuked from orbit by Wicked on Thursday, if not Gladiator. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like that might be it. People might just be waiting to see Gladiator, or because I mean I don't think that there's a lot of overlap between the Wicked market and the Red One market.
No.
But I think that you know dads are probably going to be like, why am I going to watch Red One when I can watch Gladiator? No, that's not the right thing for the gag. Gladiator. Because it's two eyes. Because it's Gladiator.
Because there's two eyes. Because it's Roman 2.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
I am hilarious.
Though wait till they all find out that Russell Crowe is probably not in that movie.
He's gonna have a cameo.
I only say probably because there's a 5% chance there's like a dream sequence or flashback where his Javert comes out.
And I'm Javert. Do not forget my name.
Can I just say that the mechanic, the fight/delivery mechanic of Santa and Cohort being able to become like Munchkin size was one of the scariest things I've seen in my life.
Okay.
It was just so disorienting, and I didn't need the visual of like toddler-sized The Rock. I didn't need that.
If I saw that like toddler-sized rock, I would punch that thing.
I would punch him so far. It would just be a gut reaction. He comes running at me. I'm just like, nope. Goodbye.
Can you say like the image of him like picking up a guy and like using him to beat up other guys with it, with the CGI was so horrific. This turned to like rubber things. Did you ever see that old animation as like going to the store on?
Oh, where he can't walk?
Yeah. He was just like a little mannequin.
The greatest. Yeah.
It's like that kind of vibes, except even worse.
I hated the one snowman's little like bowler druid cap. It was at a jaunty angle, and I did not like it at all.
I forgot that one of them even had.
I thought their little ice cream truck was kind of fun, the like little tiki thing, and it had really bad puns about ice cream. Like,
trying to get up the.
after getting through the creature design, they thought about it for 3 seconds, and we're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's like, and like again, there's so many parts where it could have elevated itself to like a bit more schlock, but there's no schlock, only slop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to know some good Christmas Santa schlock?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, Violent Night.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. David Harbour fights people.
Yeah, and it's like, because, and while that movie isn't like super strong either, at least it commits to its idea pretty well. Like, I wish it had gone even further, but there's.
Does that one actually have John Leguizamo in it, or am I starting to share your face blindness?
No, that was actually John Leguizamo.
It does, thank God. Okay. Whew.
But yes, and he is the guy that goes, "Christmas dies tonight."
Yeah, that's right.
Like that's what this movie needed. It just needed to let itself do something zany, do something weird.
But it didn't.
Well, you guys should all check out Conclave was really good. Anora was really good. Heretic was really good. And you know what? I'll even go a step further. I think Here was pretty alright. I think it's got a certain charm to it.
Well, that makes one of us.
Anything else you want to add on about Red One?
I'm just going to say I'm going to go off and cleanse my palate with all 10 Sufjan Stevens Christmas EPs.
You're not going to go cleanse your palate with Wicked?
I'm gonna stare right down the barrel of that lens eventually, but
Good. Watch that movie actually be really good.
I'm not prepared.
But yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this discussion tonight, Reynard.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us. If you want to hear more of us, I'm Daniel Goldhorn on YouTube.
And I'm Reynard/cinema on Tumblr.
And you can see us all next time. Take care.
Bye.